Who are you? I'm Batman. All right. Happy Halloween to everyone in the United States or across the globe, whoever celebrates Halloween. So anyway, we're going to be talking about CentOS today. One of the many projects that I'm working on right now is I am doing sort of an expo of various Linux distros. Like I feel weird. I read. I don't know. I want to say distributions, right? People write distros. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna try out various flavors and try to figure out which ones I like, which ones I don't like, and to give you guys recommendations. One of the categories that I'm looking at is security. So, what are some of the options in terms of the most secure um, Linux distros? Distro. So, for example, I've been looking at Tails, Cubes. Um, what's another one that I was using? CentOS is in there. It's not as overtly security focused as something like Tails, for example, which the default browser is a Tor browser, which is not only for the dark web. You can browse normal web pages as well, but you can do it quite securely by going through the Tor network, so your IP address is concealed from prying eyes and hackers. So I looked at those two. There are some others that I looked at. Oh, Arch Linux I did as well. So these are all the CDs or DVDs rather. Only one of them is a CD that I've burnt. These are all ISO images that I burnt. So I got CentOS, which I'm running right now. I'm actually doing this live stream. So this video is in itself a test of what CentOS is capable of and not capable of. And I'll get into some of the problems that I had in order to do this live stream. Now, what I'm doing now is pretty much simple and straightforward and kind of just worked, right? But it's only what I did this time around. Now, when I just simply went into Firefox, went into YouTube and tried to do this, that was a disaster. But we're going to get into that. So there's Arch Linux 10.0. Ubuntu. The thing with Ubuntu is a lightweight Linux distro. So you can pretty much run that from a USB drive, so that one of the security techniques is basically you do like a live CD. So when you boot up from the USB or from the CD or from the DVD. Everything that you're looking at, the entire operating system is being pulled from the media that you have it installed on, not from your hard drive. So the idea there being that every time you launch, it's like you're launching it for the first time. So let's say I log in with Ubuntu and some hacker gets in, installs some malware, whatever it is. Once I shut down and restart, that's gone, right? Because nothing's persisting to the drive wherever you have it installed. So you can have a session be compromised. You guys can't even see my cape. You can have a session be compromised, but not your actual system. So what I mean again is, while I'm logged in, right, and while the OS is running, that active session can be compromised, right? But again, whatever happens during the session ends when the session ends. So because once again, you're always starting from the original clean copy. Oh my goodness. This is getting crazy now. All right, so that's another strategy. It's something that I was looking at as well. And I'll do videos, of course, explaining how that works. So here's Tails. This is a live DVD. Tails, very, very security focused distro. And then finally, Ubuntu. Trusty old Ubuntu, which I've been using for a long time. this is Ubuntu 18. The main thing here is I'm using 16. I've been using 16 for a long time. Time to update. So I figured I would get that going as well. As well as Ubuntu is a recommended distro. I definitely do recommend Ubuntu. I've been using it for a long time. Fairly easy to work with. It's been pretty stable, pretty reliable. Gotten the job done. So check it out. Now, let's actually take a look at CentOS. So CentOS is coming from the Red Hat family. So it is going to be it's using the Yum package manager, which has been pretty good installing software. Usually that's how I like to install software. I don't really use a lot of the stuff in the GUI, so the software center or whatever it's called. Generally speaking, I will, when I want to install something, I'll Google the Yum instructions, the command line, and I'll just install it that way. And that's been pretty decent for the most part. So anyway, CentOS is 14 years old, so it's a teenager, and it is basically an enterprise class operating system that you can get for free, right? So with that being said, let's actually take a look at the actual product itself. So we're going to try to do my first screen share on CentOS. And then I'm going to talk about what my experience has been thus far, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, share desktop. Let's see, share screen. So I have my entire screen, which seems to show both windows. That's interesting. Or I can share the application window, so application specific. I wouldn't want to do that. So let's do entire screen. That should be interesting. So let me join the stream on my tablet so I can see what's going on, because I'm gonna have to minimize this thing, get it out of the way. All right, so we're sharing entire screen, and here we go. Boom. Hopefully you don't see something you're not supposed to see. There's nothing here that you're not supposed to see. Anyway, so this is it. This is CentOS. This is as you can see, these are both of my windows that I have open right now. So let me look. So you can see on the right. Okay, so the stream is a little bit delayed. You're still seeing before I close those windows. So yeah, so you're actually seeing both of my screens. So I have it's actually a triple screen setup, but I'm using a third output for my Oculus right now. So it's just two screens. But anyway, so on the left I have this window open. This is the Mozilla Firefox browser. This is Terminator, which I've installed. I love Terminator. Transparent background, multiple tabs. And then on the right, I'm running so many browsers. So I got this is Mozilla as well. I have Concord is on this as well, but I guess it's not running. But I'm also running Chrome for the live streaming. So let's talk about why I'm running Chrome for the live stream. So I've been. I guess let me go through some of the basics of the experience. So, when I first installed CentOS, that was a little bit crazy in terms of I have like 8, 9, 10 terabytes of space, but 95% of my drives are full. So most of my drives are in the red, running out of space. I don't really have a lot of space right now. Too lazy to go get a hard drive and just do things the right way. So I decided to do something stupid, like I'm just going to create an extra partition on one of my data drives and just kind of squeeze an entire operating system into the partition. That's what I did, and that's what I actually pulled it off. Successful. That's what you're looking at right now. This is an entire operating system that's squeezed into the partition of one of my many hard drives. So on my main drive, my system drive, I have Windows, and then on another drive, I have CentOS installed in a partition that I created. So one of the things I ran into is the installation. Most of it was pretty much easy enough, put it that way. But the main thing is the disk partitioning because of the weird setup that I was doing. If I let's put it this way, if I had a nice clean hard drive, I probably could have had the whole thing installed in like 30, 40 minutes, no problem. Right? There was nothing really crazy that would take that much time. However, what I was doing was very, very dangerous, very, very risky, because I have a data drive that I want to protect. I don't want to end up it installing or deleting one of my existing partitions. So what I did was I was very, very careful, and I had to do manual partition. There's a way it does it automatically, but I did manual. And then I needed to be very, very clear on what was what. Now, one of the issues you run into when you're doing stuff like this is the way you see things in Windows doesn't match what you see in Linux. So in terms of how the drives are identified, in Windows you have C drive, D drive, E drive, F drive, right? Linux doesn't operate in that manner. You have this concept of mounting drives, and you have a boot, you have a root, and you have swap. So it's a little bit, it can be a little bit intimidating for someone coming from a Windows background, but that is the world that it has. And the issue there is, since you're using two different systems, you have to be able to match it up. It's like you have a drive in Windows, but then when you go over to Linux, it's like SDC1 and SDC2 and SDA1 and SDA whatever. And it's like, whoa, what is an SDA, my friend? Like, what is this? Like, what is SDA? What does that mean, right? Um, so one of the tricks I use is I take a note of the details of the drive in Windows, get as much information as possible, because the letter is going to be next is well, it will be useless because the letter is not relevant to Linux. So if it's B drive, G drive, that is irrelevant. That does not exist in the Linux world. So I need to know things like what is the capacity of the drive, how much free space is on the drive, how much space is used on the drive, what's the manufacturer of the drive, what is the, in terms of the drive number. Usually the way your system is set up, you're going to have like the drives have sort of a numerical designation. All this information is good to have available to help you to decipher when you're looking in Linux, like what is what. Right. So as you can see here, I did my, well, you can't see anything because I'm not 1 second, because I am screen sharing. 1 second. I guess I can stop screen sharing. Let's see, stop sharing. Okay, so you guys should be seeing me. Okay, here we go. As you can see here, I was taking notes of like what drive, like look at this is my doctor's handwriting, taking notes of like what what the capacities are. So, and also, so the Linux names SDC. And I was I was late at night, right? So I wanted to make sure eliminate me being tired and stuff like that. So what I did was I did an analysis of what I see in Linux versus what I know in Windows, and then I established, what was what in terms of, these are the other drives that I don't want to touch. This is the drive that has the partition that I do want to touch. So one of the first things that I want to be very clear on is what should I stay away from completely. So in this case, SDC 1 and 3, I established based on size, capacity, and things like that. Basically, process of elimination. I was able to figure out that SDC 1 and SDC 3, and that's the drive designation, those were drives that I should not be touching. One of those is my Windows drive that I boot from, and the other one is just some other drive that I have that is not relevant to the installation. So I made that very clear and wrote in big letters 1/3 leave exclamation point, like do not touch SDC 1 and 3. So when I'm fooling around and doing this installation, anywhere I see SDC 1 or 3, I know, whoa, okay, that's bad. And whenever I'm telling it to like rewrite this or install here, I'm looking at what the designation is. It's not saying 1 or 3. Okay. You know what I mean? It's like I want to be very clear what I'm looking at. So then the thing was figuring out what size to make each of these elements. So you have like home, swap, boot, and root. So I decided to go with a 6 gigabyte home, 18 gigabyte swap. I'll talk about swap in a second. 4 gigabyte. What is that? Is that boot, and then root. I went with 8 gigabytes. So those are the sizes that I decided on. So 18 gigabyte swap. Why such a huge swap? Why am I wasting all this space on my swap drive? Because per the CentOS recommendations, drives that are hard drives, no, systems that have 2 gigabytes or less of RAM, you're supposed to create a swap file that is, I forgot. Is it the size of your RAM plus 1 gigabyte? Something like that. I don't know. I got way more RAM than that, so I don't remember that one. I do remember for me, what it was 2 gigabytes or more. You're supposed to equal your physical RAM plus 2 gigabytes. So what that means is my system, I have 16 gigabytes of physical RAM, right? So per the CentOS guidelines, the recommendations on swap files, my swap file should be physical RAM, which is 16 gigabytes, plus 2 gigabytes, which is 17, 18, total of 18 gigabyte swap file, right? So actually, because of all this RAM that I have, I actually ended up costing me more space with the swap file. Now, one of the reasons for this is hibernation. If you ever put your system into hibernation, then all of that data that's in the RAM has to be written to the swap file, right? Because that's the idea, right? Everything that's in RAM to store your current state of your system needs to be stored on the hard drive, right? So when you boot back up, your system can read the hard drive, read that data that was in a memory, read it from the hard drive, and then put it up in the memory. So then all your windows that were open, everything else gets recalled. So simple math, right? You have 16 gigabytes of RAM, and here's an interesting thing that's relevant, right? It depends on how much of that RAM you're using. If I have a 16 gigabyte RAM system, but I'm only using 3 gigabytes of memory currently, then I don't need more than a 3 gigabyte swap file, right? Technically speaking. However, because I have 16 gigabytes of RAM, that means my system can use up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, obviously, right? So that means my entire system state could be up to that size. So if my swap file is smaller than my RAM, then that means there's a possibility that I won't be able to create a swap file, because if I have 16 gigabytes, being used totally, my system probably crawling by then I can't put that in my swap file because swap file is smaller. The 2 gigabytes on top of that is probably just for safety, because I would never want to have, I have 16 gigabytes of physical RAM and my swap file is exactly 16 gigabytes of RAM. So that's probably where the 2 gigabytes comes in. But bottom line is 18 gigabyte swap file. So that was the deal. So I set it up. I set those sizes up. But a lot of the confusion came with the manual partition setup in the CentOS installation. Not very intuitive. It's kind of ambiguous and vague, and it's kind of like, which drive is this going to install to? When I add these partitions, what does that mean? Where, it's just kind of like it's out of context. I'm just looking at information, but I don't have context in terms of what the GUI is showing me in terms of, basically you have to tell it, how you want to allocate the storage for all these different components. And then the GUI is trying to communicate to you what your options are, trying to communicate to you what you've selected. And it's kind of ambiguous. So that was kind of confusing. And I can't be wrong, right? If I install it to the wrong drive, then I wipe out my data. So I went through every process, doing my notes and reviewing and researching online, just to make sure I was 100% positive that, what I was doing was not going to end up deleting my data. And I was rewarded by being very thorough and meticulous, and it was a success. So I did the installation, and then it booted right up, and it started out pretty nice. I like the visual presentation. Let's actually go back and share the screen again. And you guys that just joined the live stream, say hi, man. Say hi. Be nice. Be polite. Say hi. And happy Halloween. So screen share, and let's share everything. Okay, so there we go. Let's get this out of the way. All right, so installation was done. Started it up. Pretty simple, interface. Looks cool. Makes a little interesting sound when you start up. And right now, one of the issues that I ran into after that was I got into CentOS, played around with it. I'm like, all right, this is cool, no big deal. And then I said, okay, I'm done for the day. It's super, super late. I was up till 4 in the morning. I said, okay, let me shut down and be done for the day. The next day I come, I boot up, CentOS won't boot. Now it's possible that because I did my yum updates to update the system, so maybe one of the updates broke something, but it's just kind of annoying that a brand new installation is already broken. And I didn't really do anything crazy. It's not like I installed a whole bunch of software. And then it's broken in such a way where it took me a long time troubleshooting and I was never able to fix it. So the first installation worked for single boot only. Single boot updates, then I rebooted, then it would not boot up. So what was happening was when you boot up, it would go into rescue mode, and it was complaining something was failing in the beginning. So I did some research online, and everyone keeps talking about the I think it's called the bootloader. You can repair it, and there's steps you can do to repair it, and all the steps were failing. I was getting error messages, error messages, error messages. Cannot get beyond this booting up into rescue mode. So eventually I said it's taking way too much time for me trying to rescue a system that, I'm really just exploring. It's an experiment for you guys to let you guys know what I think about it. And I said it's not worth it. Like, what am I protecting? It's not like this is my computer I've been working on, it's all configured. So I just blew it away. I said forget this. So I went and I tried to do, first of all, there's no repair like with Windows. You can do a repair. If you try to install and Windows is already there, Windows will be like, hey, do you want to repair? I didn't see any repair option really. So that was kind of annoying that I was forced to basically do the whole thing over, because it's probably some system files that are messed up for some reason. So I would just need to sort of overwrite those files, not do the entire thing. But unfortunately, that's what I was forced to do the entire thing from scratch. So I reinstalled back to the same partitions I had before, and that installation failed. So that installation, I think the installation itself failed. So it gave me an error message and it quit. So I was like, oh man, this sucks. So I figured, you know what, probably a bad idea and sloppy to install in these existing partitions. So what I did was, forgive me, what I did was I deleted the partitions completely, created a new one, a nice clean one, and then I went through the steps, set up each partition the same size I did before, ran through the operating system installation, and I did the yum updates once I was able to boot up for the first time. And I've done a few reboots since then, and it's been fine so far. So first impression, and I had to do more research, but recoverability, if I can call it that, is not ideal. Hey, Hunter 360, what's up, man? So recoverability was disappointing. I should not have had to reinstall an entire operating system just to fix something, and this is a fresh install. I just installed the operating system and already it's broken to a point where there's no like repair option. There's no like just do a yum update or some command. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I spent a lot of time doing a lot of research and was unable to find any solution. So and it was most likely just the bootloader. So I should have been able to just like recover it, some kind of yum update command or something. Could not get it going. So that was annoying. And the second time around that failed. Then I did clean partitions. Third time, good to go. I've done 3 different reboots and it's still running right now. So other than that, what issues did I run into? So this live stream, what I said in the beginning of the live stream was that this live stream was pretty easy to do. And what the context is, this is a new OS that I just installed. I don't have any experience with, never used CentOS before. And it's Linux, it's not Windows, right? We know the image that Linux has had for a long time in terms of, I mean, that's changed a lot, but in terms of it being very not user friendly, it's more, you know, nerdy. Go in and you're doing development stuff, and you're in the terminal, command line, whatever. But try to install a video card, or try to get your sound card to work, or try to use, you know, your some of your applications you use in Windows. You know, good luck, right? Just not as compatible with a lot of the mainstream applications and hardware that you would have in Windows. Those days are mostly over, but um, Linux is still has a ways to go, and it depends on which distribution. Like Ubuntu is pretty good. Ubuntu is a pretty good approximation for the Windows experience. I want to qualify that. When I say Windows experience, I mean in terms of Windows right now. Like, I installed Windows 7 4 years ago. It's been rock solid for a long time. Um, I have just like popped in graphics cards and it sees it, it works. Popped in a mouse, pop in this, pop in all kind of hardware, and Windows is just like, oh, I get it. Okay, I get it. All right, you know, like it's just like very plug and play. Back in the day, it used to be plug and pray, but modern Windows operating system, very, very plug and play. Things kind of just work, right? Now that's with a good clean installation. Now, as far as some crappy, you know, computer, I built my own system, right? Some crappy machine that you bought from e-machines or something from Walmart, you know, that's a whole nother story with the bloatware and crappy hardware and all that. That's a whole nother story. But if you have a good clean Windows installation, you got good solid hardware, it kind of just works, right? That's modern day Windows. There's a good amount of that now in Linux, but I think CentOS, my first impressions, it's got a ways to go to approach the Ubuntu levels of that Windows plug and play type of situation. Um, like, for example, like I said, the first boot problem, the second boot problem, I mean, the first installation problem, second installation problem, and then now that I have this installation that's working, what happened with the live stream? Okay, so so I've been running it for a while. I've been watching YouTube on Firefox in CentOS. Okay, good deal, right? Nice. The sound card was recognized. I didn't have to do anything with the sound card. It just recognized first boot. It booted up with the sound, so it totally recognized my hardware as far as sound goes. That was awesome, right? It totally recognized the graphics card. I didn't have to do anything special with the graphics card. Literally, I just boot up and my resolution is proper. My sound is working. And actually, in the installation, my screens were swapped and there's no way to change it at that point. But once I got to the desktop, they actually corrected themselves. I don't know how. Maybe it's coincidence, but so that was cool. So the windows were on the correct size, resolution is good, sound is good. I got into Firefox, which was a native browser that was installed on there. I'm playing YouTube videos. I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm right at home. I got a working system. Then today comes, I do this live stream. I try to do this live stream. I go into YouTube. YouTube videos don't play. YouTube videos don't play. It's telling me something. I can actually show you because this is Firefox right here. So if I go to youtube.com, you can see, like, let me try to play my live stream. See that? So this is what happens. Hey, Hunter 360 is in the house. This is what I get. It says your browser does not currently recognize any of the video formats available. Now, keep in mind, this was working before, even in this current installation. Now all of a sudden it's not working. So again, I spend a lot of time with this. Like Ubuntu, to me, you can install it and just go, right? It's a very close to the Windows type of thing. Like, you install it and you go. Things kind of just work. With CentOS, I've spent a lot of time doing research. This thing's not working. Why is it not working? I'm checking this page, that page, this page. Oh, okay, I think it's this thing. That. Oh, okay, I fixed that. Then something else is not working properly. You know, research. I've spent a lot of time doing a lot of research. So, not the most sort of user-friendly plug and play operating system. But that being said, I do have something that works pretty good at this point. Just took a little bit of effort. But as far as this thing, this is something I bailed on again. This is yet another thing with CentOS that I ran into, as far as that was a problem that I gave up on trying to fix. I'm just like, just taking too much time. I want to do my live stream. I got things to do. I want to get to bed early. I want to get up early in the morning. So I said, you know what? Let me just do Chrome. I know Chrome works very well with YouTube. So I actually downloaded an entire different browser just to play YouTube videos so I could do the live stream, even though Firefox was playing YouTube videos even today. Why did it stop working? I don't know. Did the research, didn't find the answers, gave up, went to Chrome. Chrome works. It also comes with Concord. I forgot how it's pronounced. That didn't play YouTube videos either. So two native browsers don't play YouTube videos, even though one of them is supposed to. I haven't verified that it supports it. I mean, I know it supports it. It was playing it earlier, right? So another thing about the interface is, if you, just like with Mac OS, if you go up in the corner here, it's got this kind of corner thing. See that? See the little ripple, the waves that it does? And it's actually, wow, I didn't know there's like multiple desktops, I guess. Or so it looks like there's two of them. So you got this, which is showing me all my windows, and then you got this, which is showing me, I don't know, just the main ones that are active. I guess the active windows or something, or the ones in the foreground, and this shows me everything. So I assume, obviously, yeah, I can mouse around, and then when I mouse on these things, it tells me the name of the application. I can click on them. So I want to go to the Chrome. There you go. Right, so that's pretty simple. And then I have more desktops available as well. This is GNOME. I was using Plasma before, which I believe Plasma is part of the KDE interface. But I decided on this installation this time around to go with GNOME instead. So you have multiple desktops here as well. So I can clean this all up, and I can actually have different windows here. This is interesting how this is still in this mode. Even though I've selected this, it's still, okay, there you go. So I guess you have to click twice. So let me see. So if I go here and I choose another desktop, see, it just shows me the desktop. It doesn't take me there. So I think I click again, then I go there. So all right, that's cool. I get it. Intuitive enough. Also, there's something that's I like. It's really cool. So you got this show applications, which I think is kind of a Mac type of thing. And I know Mac is kind of built on top of the I don't know if it's technically Linux kernel or Unix, one of the two. But if you click on this, look at that. Nice little animation there. All these applications just kind of slide out, and I can see my Firefox settings, Emacs. I downloaded that. You got the firewall, help, software, archive manager, files, Terminator. I downloaded that. Chrome. I downloaded that. This is the native terminal that it comes with. And then, of course, I can search for things. So let me search for Keeper. So Keeper doesn't come up. This is interesting what this shows. So this shows contact names. Wow. Where's it getting those contact names from? Tomorrow, clocks. So I'm not really sure where that's coming from. That's very interesting. I don't want to go too much into that because I don't know what I'm exposing to the world there. But I'm trying to think of an application that's not, because I don't think these are all the applications. Oh, look at this. There's frequent on the bottom, and then there's all. So that's nice. So I click on all, I can see all of the applications. All right, and then there's 2 pages of them. So everything looks pretty cool. The animations are pretty quick and smooth. Visually, I like what I see. You've got the image manipulator. There's Conqueror. I guess Conqueror is the native browser it comes with. And some of these things I picked out. I did minimal package installation. There's different packages you can select in terms of what applications you want on top of the basic CentOS setup. So I chose minimal, and then I added some things. I think Cheese is the webcam software. There's a weather thing there, and Terminator, like I said, I installed that. So there you have it. And these are the frequent ones. So that's pretty cool. And I think that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to discuss about CentOS. So so far, again, I like the experience, but it is a learning curve is not crazy, but it's definitely not a plug and play operating system. You know what I mean? So I got to put it in context. What if I didn't have much Linux experience? Um, I, I would say for someone with no Linux experience, it's probably a bad idea to install CentOS. You probably get super frustrated and maybe just give up, because even though it was challenging for me, that's challenging for me with years and years of experience. So I can't imagine if I was someone who didn't have that experience, at least to leverage, to sort of, I don't know the answer, but I have ideas about how Linux works and how you know w- strategies to solve my problem. You know what I mean? I know how to do the research. I know how to interpret the information I'm looking at. But someone who doesn't have much background is probably not a good idea. But if you're a mm, I would say it's not crazy enough that a beginner should stay away. If you're a high level beginner, meaning you have some time under your belt, you've been working with Linux for 6 months to a year, on a daily basis. You spent the time, you've been reading the books, you've been learning. CentOS, go nuts. If you want to explore it for whatever reason, you're looking for a secure OS that is enterprise grade. Maybe this is what is being used at your job or being used in the industry, and you feel it's advantageous, which I recommend. If you know in your industry that there's a certain flavor of Linux that is being used by a lot of companies that you might want to work for, advantageous for you to install it locally and get more familiar with it. So use it on a daily basis, use it as much as possible. So that's what you want to do. You've had 6 months under your belt to a year. Go nuts. I mean, you can install it as your first OS, first Linux OS. I'm not saying it because it's not certainly not crazy. Um, now, Arch, is it Arch or Arc? Arch Linux, I wouldn't recommend, and some other ones that are like strictly command line based, very manual. Like some of them are very, very sort of manual. Like you've got to build everything from the ground up. Like you have to make all the decisions of what you're going to add, what you're not going to add. Like for example, some of them networking is not even a given, right? So you would have to actually command line activate the networking interface, go in there and choose it and turn it on, as opposed to with a GUI setup like this where it automatically will look for, identify, and activate your networking. So you know what I mean? So that makes it much easier. But something where everything is manual, everything is command line based, certainly new person, bad idea. But if you're a new person, and you love challenges, you're very, very not afraid of things, to be challenged and stuff like that. You love playing chess, go right ahead. CentOS first OS. Otherwise, 6 months and more, people, Linux experienced people, go ahead, try it out. You should be able to figure it out. Google is your friend, right? Um, Other than that, um, that's all there's to it. So I'm going to be reviewing some other um, flavors of Linux as well. Distro. So stay tuned for those. I'll be looking at Ubuntu 18, Tails, Cubes, Lubuntu, and some others I do not recall. But I'm going to be the purpose of this is to give you guys recommendations. I mean, I'm learning myself. I want to explore because I've been using Ubuntu for a long time. Is that the best one for me? I don't know. I've been using it for a long time. I haven't checked out others. Maybe there's things that the others deliver that I would be interested in, right? You're not going to know until you try it. So right now I'm going through the phase of exploration and trying to sort of see what I like and also sharing that information with you guys. I'm going to try to do some tutorials as well in terms of how to install like CentOS. I'll do a video on how to install CentOS, do a video on how to install Ubuntu, how to do a live CD, how to run from USB. There's certainly a lot of challenges involved in some of those things. So it would definitely be beneficial for me to share that with you guys. So with that being said, I am trying to find my desktop, and here we go. With that being said, thank you for watching. If this video was helpful to you, enjoyed the video, click on the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and also smash that bell. And happy Halloween from the Computer Programming University. Okay, that was horrible. That was horrible. Guys, show some mercy. I'm just making a fool of myself. I'm embarrassing myself. I did a horrible Batman voice. So I really feel depressed right now because of how embarrassed I am. So show some love. Like the video, subscribe, smash the bell, so you can boost up my ego so I can feel better about myself. All right, guys. I'm working on a ton of tutorials. I know I haven't done many tutorials in a while. I got a whole bunch of them that I've recorded already. I'm going to continue to aggressively produce as many tutorials as possible to deliver the content. I know you guys love the videos that I've done, the tutorials. I've helped so many of you guys. I want to continue doing that as best as I can. Time is definitely a challenge, which is why you see a lot of gaps between me doing these videos. But right now I'm on a roll. I'm on fire. The Fix Engine project is going along. Shout out to Nick. Nick has been a great help with the project, and we're moving along with that, building an OMS as well, trading system. So full trading system from the back end to the front end. We are building it from the ground up, and there's so much more that is coming right here on this channel. So shout out to my CPU squad, and until next time. So long, salut, vigets, hasta luego, arrivederci. Who are you? I'm Batman. All right, guys. Have a good night.